Okay, looks like we have everybody here. My name is Sherry Lee. I'm going to ask that all of our participants please turn their cameras off. And we are recording this, so we can't share this with you at the conclusion of the briefing. We are going to begin with remarks from Mr. Wiedefeld, followed by Mr. Smedberg. And after that, we'll take questions. We are very limited in our time. So please keep your questions brief. The chair and the general manager need to get to the executive session. So this is going to be brief. And I'll go ahead and let you start, Mr. Wiedefeld.
Yeah, just very briefly then on my part. I think it's important, obviously, we talked about the 7Ks and getting rail service out there in the Silver Line Phase 2. But, let's not lose sight of what was just done with the budget. I mean, that is a very aggressive budget, both from an operations standpoint and from a capital investment standpoint, which again, with a longer view, means so much to the region. I just want to reinforce that. I understand everyone's focused on those other two issues, but let's not lose sight of what the board just did. And so with that, I'll leave it to Mr. Chairman if you want to make any comments.
Thank you. I'd just like to say I really appreciated the general manager's transparency on this issue. And, the board is deeply dismayed that we cannot launch Silver Line service to Dulles Airport and the communities west of Reston this spring. We understand and we know, and we're hearing from the community that this is critical to getting people out of cars as they head back to work to alleviate road congestion. But it's also very critical to the region's economy. And in terms of visitors, business travelers, and employers, businesses and people are depending on Metro Rail. And we're hearing this over and over again, particularly as people come back to work. And I would really like to stress, what we said in the letter to the WMSC. We cannot wait until the end of these safety processes and protocols to get approvals. We need timely decisions to be made as we go, or this will continue to drag on. Mr. Wiedefeld and his team have been working with people on the ground on a daily basis to move things forward. And we really need the Safety Commission to be engaged and give these approvals as we go along here. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Smedberg and Mr. Wiedefeld. We'll take questions now. Please keep your questions brief and use the raise hand function when you have a question. Jordan, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. The timing of the 7000 series obviously probably could not be worse. I'm kind of curious, as COVID kind of goes down, more people are returning to work. What are you going to tell businesses and workers? Obviously, 10-minute and 15-minute throughout the day is not what this region is used to. Are you going to have capacity, and what are you telling employers?
Yeah. I don't believe we'll have a capacity issue right now. We'll see as this thing evolves. I think it also keep in mind that that those are endpoint, times, headways. But as you know, this system has a lot of overlap, so it's different. As you obviously get into the core. So from that perspective, I think there are, there's less of a capacity issue because you have more trains there. But what we're working with employers to understand better, what their schedules are. And yes, they're coming back, but are they coming back 5 days a week? Are they coming back during peak period versus non-peak travel? All that's still playing out in real time. So we'll keep adjusting as we see how that how customers sort of start to live their lives differently in this new normal.
Adam Tuss. And Adam, I'd ask you, once you finish your question, to please turn your camera off.
Sure. Thanks for having this briefing, guys. So it sounds like, Paul and Paul, that when the trains do come back, when the 7000s do eventually come back, you're going to have to continuously monitor them. Does that mean that, number one, you still don't know exactly what's wrong with them? And number two, that they could be put back into service not knowing exactly what the proper fix is?
What it means, it is a mitigation measure, particularly with the automated wheel inspection program. So basically, Adam, the way that'll work is we will, in effect, get real-time information every time a train passes over one of these. So instantly, we will know if there's an issue. And we can set it, in effect, where the measurements that these things, and by the way, it does more than just the back-to-back, it does a whole series of measurements on the trucks. So it provides a lot of information that if there's any variation, we can pull that train off well before it would ever get to a point where we would if we were doing it manually.
Right. So, but it sounds like then you have to continuously monitor these trains. I don't think that's something that happens with the other rail cars where you're looking at them every single day that they're going out. I mean, that either means that they could possibly not be compatible with the metro system, or they require an extra level of scrutiny that you guys maybe weren't planning on.
The two things there. One is we don't know until the root cause. If there's a root cause or causes that we can in effect fix, then obviously that's not an issue. But we are going to move that technology. As you know, we were moving towards that technology before this issue. We have one of these machines we were starting to look at just from the latest technology to measure again, not just the back-to-back issue, but the wheel and the truck system. And again, it is used in the freight railroad industry, not used in the urban transportation industry, but we're moving that direction anyway because it provides us better information. So it's an added plus if we do it, regardless of whether we get to the root cause or not.
Okay, and very last
Okay,
one.
Adam, we need to get to some other people for some questions since we're limited on time. William Ford, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Wiedefeld, you'll be stepping aside in a few months. And I'm just wondering to just summarize, what have you learned while working with the agency and dealing with all these particular issues that come up, 7,000 series, Silver Line extension? What have you learned in your experience there?
To be frank, William, this is something that large agencies, whether it's transit, airports, these are very complex organizations that issues will come up. And what we've learned and what we've tried to do is, look, when we see them, we attack them and we move on, right? And that's what we've tried to do, here and you name it, whether it's the platform work, for instance, right? We're just not going to ignore things and hope they get better or push them off to someone else's plate. We're just trying to knock things down as they come up. And so that's what I think that our team, that's the approach we've been taking. And it's the approach that I personally have taken at other jobs I've had.
Okay, thank you, William. Justin, George, and I do want to say we're going to get to all the reporters who have their hands up, but not any additional questions due to our time limitations.
Both Pauls, thank you for doing this. General Manager Paul, I was wondering a couple of things. One, the number of passengers that you're seeing, especially on Tuesday, is this gone beyond projections? Are you seeing more commuters than you initially had thought? And is this changing sort of projections long term? And then second of all, I just have a question. The 6,000 series obviously were approved to sort of go back in last year. Why is it taking so long to get the entire series on the track, especially when you have a train shortage and the 7,000 series have been out for so long?
Sure. Right. On the projection, again, they're just that, we were making projections, in the middle of Omicron, right? So there's a lot of things so we'll continue to monitor that and adjust where we can. In terms of the 6K, there's a few things there. One is, the coupler issue, literally, I think if I recall, we get parts from 5 different continents to support that. So there has been some supply issues, that stuff getting to us. So that's one thing. The other part is every one of those cars, when we get it, when we do the work on it, then it has to go through WMSC approval. That takes some time. They've been very good. They've been keeping on top of that, and we've been working with them to do that. So that is part of the reason that has taken. We're also basically rehabbing some of those. They have ongoing maintenance that you have to do. So it's that too. It isn't like you can just the entire fleet just goes out once and that's it. You're constantly doing ongoing required maintenance. And so that sort of then meters how much you can bring out into the system. The big issue though, to get those 50 cars out there is the couplers. And that's what we're working on. And again, some of it's supply, some of it's physically doing it and getting the MSC to prove it. But we're hoping by the end of April, we'll have the rest of those out there.
Tom Rousey.
Hey, Paul and Paul, thank you for doing this. For GM, Paul, quick question. Just want to confirm first off for your May timeline that you meant 8 trains, not 8 rail cars. And then also for the summer, what percentage of the 7,000 do you expect to come back? Because based on the times you gave, it doesn't seem like all of them would be back. And then my final question, how much did the 6 automated wayside stations cost?
5 to 10 minutes.
It is 8 trains on this 6K. On the 7K, I'm sorry, percentage wise, again, there's two things we're doing there. One is we are going to do the manual with this digital measurement. That will give us a series of cars. And then the wayside, really, it's as soon as we can get those automated wayside mechanisms in place and the MSC to approve it, that will give us a lot more flexibility. So I can't give you an exact number because all that is dependent upon these things flowing. And I'll have Sherry or somebody get you the costs on the wayside. It's relatively small numbers, I believe, under $1 million, but I'll have Sherry just give you the exact number on that.
Yep, I'll follow up with everybody on that.
Okay.
And Jordan and Adam, I'll come back to you, but David Kaplan.
Hello, thank you so much for doing this. Just very quickly, can you talk a little bit about what you would hope that the Safety Commission would do to expedite some of these processes? You alluded to that, approvals needing to happen relatively quickly. And then Jordan kind of asked this, but you all have talked previously about the overarching sort of trust issue and trying to get people to have faith in Metro to utilize it again. What do you say to someone who hears what you're saying today and dealing with today and is skeptical that this can all get fixed even on the timeline that you all have outlined today?
Okay.
Thank you for
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
go ahead, Paul, you should start. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if you could talk about the MSC and I'll talk about the other issue.
Yeah, I mean, as I said in my opening statement, I really think, it's important that we get the MSC to work and get approvals along the way. So they're not starting that entire process at the very end, because that potentially adds an additional several months before we can get, service out there. They are on the ground. They are cooperating, as I understand it, and as the general manager can highlight better than I can. They are out there working with WMATA staff and MWA staff on a daily basis, but we need to get them to make those any approvals that they can, so we can in effect check things off the list. And we would rather have them take that approach. And that is not an uncommon approach. There are other safety commissions around the country. The one that we're familiar with here in particular is the Federal Railway Administration. Works closely with Amtrak and with the Excella issue. They were approving things along the way to help expedite that process. And I think we need to do that here, because it is really important that we get this service started for some of the reasons I stated earlier.
And on your second part of your question, I think there's sort of 2 answers there, or 2 parts of that. One is on the rail cars. We have and will continue to put service out there when it's safe. And if it's not, we're not going to try to force things that just aren't ready. So I understand that's very frustrating for our customer, obviously with a large headway, but we're doing that from a safety perspective. And it's been our, it's been our philosophy, for years here. So I understand the frustration, but again, we're doing that to keep everyone safe. So that's that. Well, in terms of the Silver Line Phase 2, again, that's not a schedule we control until the airport has that project to the state, where then we can start our efforts. There's not a whole lot we can do. They have to get through certain things. I outlined the 3 larger ones, but that is something that just has to be done. So I can't do anything about that until those no-go issues are settled.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Adam and Jordan. If you can keep it brief, we need to wrap this up in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I hopefully both Pauls can address this, and we can start with the GM, Paul. Mr. Wiedefeld, would you encourage people to telework until this 7,000 series issue is fixed?
No, I think they're going to telework anyway, Adam. They're going to do that, regardless of what we do. I've been using the system, it's not where it was pre-COVID for sure, but I've gotten around very well, and it's just, I've done it in the evening. I've done it, coming to work. So I just think the system is a very good system, even at that reduced level.
Jordan?
The board chair, hold on, I would like to get the board chair out on that
Okay,
too.
sorry, go ahead, Mr. Smedberg, sorry.
Yeah, Adam, I've used the system 4 or 5 times in the last couple of weeks, and I've seen an increase in ridership. I've noticed the crowds. I think people are obviously coming back. The numbers show that, and our team, our safety team and our operational team are working very closely together. And the system is safe. It's obviously the headways are not what we'd like them to be, but we are working hard to get those 6,000 trains back as quickly as possible. Again, we need the Safety Commission's help with that. And then, obviously working to get to the root cause or causes of, the 7,000 series. But I would encourage people to ride it. And we're also seeing, the ridership on the weekends up. Just this past weekend, I was on it, and there were a lot of people, going into the district, specifically for the cherry blossoms and some other events. But, there were a lot of people on the train, and we need to get more of them out there for sure.
Thank you, Adam. One clarification, the cost of the that system is $500,000 per system, so $3 million total for all 6 that we're using. Okay. Jordan, last question.
Yeah,
Justin, I saw your hand up. Please let us know if you have a question, and we'll do our best to answer it, but we're going to wrap up with Jordan.
Yeah, 2 quick questions, one for Mr. Wiedefeld, one for Mr. Smedberg. Mr. Wiedefeld, why is this the first time that we're hearing about the orange boot issue?
It was something that we had identified to the airport authority quite a while ago that they're working on. So, but here we are getting very close to a point where, look, that has to be done. We've been, they were working on it, and that's fine and good, but we're not going to accept it until that's done. So we just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that was one of the issues that is clearly a no-go issue. And again, with a few that have been around, the history of these things have to be bothly just totally watertight, and as you can see in these, that's not what we have here.
Gotcha. And then Mr. Smedberg, why did you not reappoint Jeff Sherrington? Was there something nefarious going on there? Did you not like the way he did the job? Why did you not reappoint him?
It's an HR related matter, and we chose not to reappoint the Inspector General, and we've appointed his deputy, Renee Fables, is the acting, and in terms of work plans and other audits and investigations, nothing is changing. So the office is, moving forward on all those fronts.
I'd like to note my eye roll that you couldn't see.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I will make a copy of this available to you afterwards if you need it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate it, Mr. Wiedefeld and Mr. Smedberg as well.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.